So let's talk about Xbox Series X upgrade that this console really needs. Let's look into this. But before we do, let's check iniba.com. They offer games for Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo and PC, and they've got racing games on sale right now. So let's check these games over here. They've got Forza Horizon 5 on sale, so how about we check it out? And let's pick the cheapest option, which is over here, buy now. That will take you to your cart, where obviously you can proceed to checkout or add more games to your cart. So let's proceed to checkout. And all you have to do now is just select a payment of your choice and you are done. So guys, iniba.com link is in the description of this video below. Okay guys, so let's talk about Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, 2 and Pro models as well, because I want to talk about current gen consoles upgrades. Now, there's been quite a lot of leaks and rumors about these Pro models for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. PlayStation 5 Pro mainly, thanks to Tom Henderson, and there's also this guy on Twitter that handles quite a lot of PC leaks, and recently he leaked a code name for the PlayStation 5 Pro chip. That's what he believes it is. So yeah, it looks like PlayStation 5 Pro is really coming, and it looks like it's coming next year, late next year, right? When it comes to Xbox, I'm not really sure. There's no hard evidence or even good leaks about it really. So we don't really know. It may be that Microsoft will release a console later, or they may never release it really, right? So we'll see. But let's assume for the sake of this video that they will, because this video will apply to both Xbox and PlayStation really. I want to talk about one particular thing that really they need to upgrade big time in my opinion, and that's CPU. Now, obviously, every single time when I see somebody talk about these upgrades, they talk about GPU, teraflops, faster clocks on the GPU, but really, I think that GPU wise, there's ways to scale games down and everything, but that's not always the case with CPU. And even though this generation is actually pretty great, pretty good when it comes to games performance and stuff, yes, the cross-gen period kind of, I guess, lasted too long, and still kind of we're not out of the woods yet, I would say, because these proper next-gen games are actually coming like later this year and next year. But yeah, we're nearly there. But even the games that we already seen, some games actually did struggle to hit 60 frames per second, right? And I know it all depends on the game. And still, if you compare this generation to last generation consoles and specs, we still see huge boost in terms of performance in games, and most games offer at least performance modes, 60 frames per second, sometimes 120. So it's a stark contrast to last generation and these consoles with Jaguar cores. That's why I was rather disappointed with both PlayStation 5 Pro and Xbox One X, because yes, they delivered the GPU power, but not on the CPU front, right? Unfortunately. But yeah, that was mainly due to the lack of technology back then when it comes to consoles, because yeah. But this generation is different. These CPUs are much more powerful, like 4 times more capable, I would say. But still, when you compare these CPUs to PC, they are actually not that powerful at all. They are good, but not great. That's what I'm trying to say. And that was actually confirmed by Digital Foundry recently in one of their videos. They made a video about that Xbox Series X chip that got on a PC motherboard, and now a Digital Foundry actually was able to test it in PC games. And basically what they found was that the CPU is actually not as powerful as maybe some people thought, that they are not, that even I would say that mid-range CPU right now on PC, like Ryzen 5 5600 or did they? I think they even used 3600, right? So yeah, I think they did use 3600. So that's Zen 3, and that CPU was actually, on average 20 to 30% more performant, right, in games. And yes, obviously there's a lot of that. This is not necessarily an apple to apple comparison because the memory system was different and stuff, right? But still, generally speaking, these CPUs, they lack a little bit of a punch, if you know what I mean, right? Even if you compare these CPUs to CPUs on PC and mid-range CPUs, not necessarily expensive CPUs, but these CPUs, even though they've got PC CPUs, even though they may come with less cores, because Ryzen 5 3600 and 5600 and 7600, these are 6-core CPUs, 12 threads. So there's 2 cores less than on consoles, but they run at higher clock speeds. Obviously, newer architecture, so the IPC is higher and better. And on top of that, they've got more cache, right? So the L3, L2, L3 cache memory. So that's very important for performance too. And I'm not going to even be comparing these to 7600 CPU, because that CPU just destroys the Xbox and PlayStation CPU. But even 3600, right? It's not the most powerful CPU. It's a good CPU. Don't get me wrong, but it just goes to show that it's more performant. And because console CPUs not only suffer from lower clock speeds, but also less L3 cache. And that's why we actually do see some games basically at below 60. And that's why I think that when it comes to these Pro models, I would rather see them boost CPU performance more than GPU. And don't get me wrong, I want them to boost CPU performance too, but I would rather them focus more on the CPU side of things. Maybe upgrade to Zen 3 if possible. Obviously run these CPUs at higher clock speeds. Instead of putting more compute units on the die, how about more L3 cache for the CPU, right? Or a whole chip, right? Now, I'm not a CPU engineer, right? So, I'm not going to be talking about what really should be done. All I'm saying is that these consoles would greatly benefit from much better CPU, and obviously faster CPU, more GPU power, faster memory too, right? Not even necessarily more memory. I don't think that's going to happen. That would make these consoles much way more expensive. And like Digital Foundry said, they won't be handling 8K anyway, really, realistically speaking, unless we're talking about some form of upscaling or something like that. But when it comes to memory usage, 16 gigabytes should be more than enough for now, I guess. But yeah, when it comes to these upgrades, and I think CPU is more important. And even recently, I upgraded my PC. I mean, recently, 2 months ago, maybe even more. I moved from a laptop, Zen 3 laptop with 6 cores, higher clock speeds than on consoles, and RTX 3060. So that was a decent laptop, but still, it was thermal throttling and power throttling and less L3 cache because these CPUs they are smaller and then I moved to a desktop PC. Yeah, I got Intel this time around, but I've noticed a huge boost in terms of performance in games, right? Even though the specs wise, on paper, they look similar, but they are not really, right? So same comes when it comes to these consoles, right? I think these consoles moving forward, especially when it comes to these next-gen games, like Unreal Engine 5 is going to be a CPU-heavy memory heavy. They really need more, you know, CPU power and faster memory basically. Ray tracing is a CPU intensive task as well, feature. So yeah, I mean, that's my just thoughts on it, and especially after seeing that Digital Foundry video and how these CPUs, these console CPUs, and I talk about both PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X because, you know, their CPUs are very similar. I mean, the only difference is that, like, you know, PlayStation 5 CPU has this how does it call, smart shift technology, which sometimes reduces the performance, but like that doesn't necessarily show in games right now. So, but still, like, when, you know, these CPUs are very similar. So yeah, that's where the focus for the not next generation, but like these upgraded consoles should go, in my opinion, right? But we'll see how that goes. Like, you know, who knows? If Sony will want to focus on 8K, they will push GPU performance again and not really thinking much about CPU. And it's not that they won't think about it, they probably won't just want to invest much money into it, because like gamers on consoles usually are fine with 30 frames per second sometimes. But that would be a shame if they did that, right? That's just my opinion, guys. So we'll see. And we don't even know if Xbox Series X Pro or Elite, or however they want to call it, actually exists, right? So we'll see. Anyway, guys, so that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about it. What kind of upgrade you would like to see when it comes to these new consoles? I mean, do you actually think we need these consoles? We'll see. So guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.